Greetings, fellow Slayers. Will or look up Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 2 now continues on with the episode Inca Mummy Girl. Sunnydale High School is hosting a cultural exchange program, and students have been paired with international exchange students who will live with them for 2 weeks. In preparation, Buffy's class takes a field trip to the Sunnydale Natural History Museum, where they see a mummy in the Inca exhibit. Buffy mentions her mom signed her up for the exchange, paired with a mystery student who she only knows as a boy named Ampata. Xander becomes jealous when she learns that she will room with a guy. After everyone leaves the museum, a class delinquent, Rodney Munson, tries to steal a ceramic plate held by the Inca princess's mummy, but instead, he breaks the seal, keeping her there. Instantly, the mummy wakes up and pulls Rodney into her coffin. That night, the Scoobies, having realized that Rodney never returned from the field trip, sneak into the museum, where they encounter a man in traditional Inca clothing wielding a sword. Initially, he attacks them but quickly vanishes. Willow notices that the supposed 500-year-old mummy has modern braces on its teeth, and it is assumed that the original mummy sucked the life out of the Sunnydale High School student. Buffy remembers she is late to pick up the exchange student at the bus station, and she rushes there with Willow and Xander in tow. While they're on the way, though, the mummy lures Ampata away and sucks the life out of him, just as she did with Rodney. When Buffy arrives, the now youthful youngling poses as Ampata. Since no one ever saw a picture of the real Ampata, they're surprised at the difference in gender but assume that it's just a miscommunication with the exchange program. Ampata is taken back to Buffy's house, and Xander is instantly smitten with her. She seems to feel similarly for him, and Willow is clearly jealous as the two flirt with each other. At school the next day, Cordelia makes plans with Devin to meet at the dance that night, at which his band is performing. The Swedish exchange student staying with Cordelia, Sven, stands creepily nearby. Cordelia admits to Devin that Sven doesn't speak a word of English. After Sven is dragged away by Cordelia, Devin discusses her attractiveness with his friends and bandmate Oz, who is unimpressed with her. Devin calls him picky, saying as he's a guitarist, Oz could get any girl he wants. Oz defends himself, saying that he's not picky. Devin is just too easily impressed. Meanwhile, Willow and Xander talk about their costumes for the dance. Willow is excited about hers, but Xander doesn't listen, only worrying about looking good in front of Ampata. Just then, she and Buffy arrive at school. The four of them find Giles, who has been working on deciphering the markings on the fragment of the Inca seal. He asks Ampata if she can translate any of it, as they know she's from South America. She seems worried by the seal, reluctant to translate it, but she's able to pick out the word bodyguard among the markings. She mentions the legend of there being a bodyguard for the Inca mummy, keeping away those who would harm her. The four separate into groups of 2. Xander keeps Ampata company on the bleachers outside school, eating sweets and flirting. Buffy and Willow do research in the library, following up on the bodyguard lead. Rather, Buffy does research, and while Willow is distracted by thoughts of Xander and Ampata. Buffy assures her that Ampata is only staying for 2 weeks, but Willow is still upset, as she knows that even if when Ampata leaves, Xander will just find another girl, and still won't want her. She says she didn't mind as much when he was obsessing over Buffy because at least then she knew he didn't have a chance. She almost resolves to move on from Xander, but says she hasn't made a choice yet. Giles changes the subject, and he's realized the Inca mummy is likely Rodney's killer. Back at the bleachers, the man with the knife from the museum has found Xander and Ampata. He attacks from behind, demanding Xander get back the seal. He recognizes Ampata, but she and Xander quickly escape. Everyone gathers in the library again. The bodyguard, meanwhile, has gone to the school. He finds the Inca princess and confronts her. She evades him, but he finally catches up with her later on. She tells him that she wants to live, that she shouldn't have been forced to give up her life at such a young age, that she was innocent. He tells her it was her duty, and that she has killed other innocent people now. She then grabs him and gives him the kiss of death in the school bathroom, sucking out his life to keep herself alive. Back in the school hallway, the smitten and oblivious Xander asks Ampata to the dance, and she gladly accepts. Will's crushed to see Xander yet again with another girl, while he continues to see Will as his best friend and never in a romantic light. Back at Buffy's, Ampata's trunk has arrived from the bus depot, and as Buffy starts to open it, the Inca princess urges her not to bother. Inside the trunk is the real Ampata's now mummified corpse, so the Inca princess distracts Buffy by talking more about the Inca ceremonial seal. Ampata speaks of the princess's suffering and difficulty in obeying her duty to die at 16, the same age Buffy is. Buffy's primary myth that she can't go to dance because she must help Giles with her slaying duties and save lives, while the Inca Princess is occupied with eagerly anticipating the dance. The dance is a costume party in which students are supposed to embrace other cultures' attire. Cordelia has an argument with Devon, but then discusses her attractiveness with his guitarist Oz. And Pod is dressed as an Inca princess, and Xander can't take his eyes off her. Willow's going to dress up in a large Eskimo parka, except for Cordelia, who speaks to her only to insult her. Willow is by herself at the dance. As Xander and the Inca princess slow dance, Oz notices Willow and is instantly drawn to her. During their dance, the Inca princess's hands start to return to their mummified state. She runs away from Xander, and then draws a student, Jonathan, into another room with plans of sucking life out of him to preserve her own youth. However, Xander arrives looking for Ampada, and the student runs away. Back at Buffy's place, Giles tells the Slayer that the bodyguard's mummified remains were found in the school bathroom. They rush open Ampada's trunk to find out more about her and discover the real Ampada's body. They inform Willow, who leaves the dance just before Oz can introduce himself. Giles then heads to the museum to piece together the Inca's sacred seal while Buffy hurries to save Xander from the Inca princess's deadly kiss. The princess cares too strongly about Xander, however, and instead of kissing him, she runs away and heads to the museum. She grabs the seal from Giles and shatters it. Buffy rushes to save Giles, but Buffy and Giles both end up entombed together in the mummy's sarcophagus, unconscious. Will arrives, and the deteriorating princess goes to feed off her. Xander shows up and insists that she must feed on anyone. It should be him. Buffy grabs her away from Xander, but the Inca princess has already returned to her mummified form, and her corpse shatters on the floor. The next day at school, Xander claims to have a bad taste in women. Buffy assures him that the Inca princess did care for him, but it was simply in poor circumstances. He likens her situation how Buffy was expected to die and gave up her life anyway. Buffy reminds Xander that she had him to bring her back. Aww. So let's take a look at some continuity surrounding this episode. This episode features the first appearance of Devon and Oz. Devon will go on to appear and be mentioned in a number of episodes, while Oz will go on to be a central character and a member of the Scooby Gang until season 4. This is also the first appearance of Oz and Devon's band, Dingo Save My Baby, though the band is mentioned in the pilot episode. This episode marks the first appearance of Jonathan Levinson, a minor character who rarely pops up in following seasons. Xander asks Ampada, You're not a praying mantis, are you?" It references Xander's crush and teacher's pet, who turned out to be a she-mantis. In Something Blue on First Date, the Inca Princess will be alluded to as one of several examples of supernatural creatures Xander has fallen for. Oz spots Willow for the first time, which will happen as well on Halloween, before they finally meet in What's My Line, Part 2. In the episode Anne, Xander and Cordelia will argue because Xander thinks she's had an affair, to which Cordelia reports, "Oh yeah, sure. I bet you met up with some little Inca Mummy Girl over the summer. Yeah, I heard about that." This is the first time Xander kisses someone on screen. Aww. So let's take a look at some production notes. The Inca Princess is based on the mummy Juanita, a mummy discovered in 1995 on the dormant volcano El Pado in Peru. Sapancaya, on which the god Sapancaya is based, is another volcano in Peru. David Boreanaz does not appear in this episode. The only time he's absent from an episode is part of the main cast. This is the 5th episode of the series about enemy vampires, after which, The Pack, I, Robot Eugene, and The Puppet Show. Interesting. And now finally, let's take a look at some pop culture references. Xander's costume for the exchange student dance references The Man with No Name, the character Clint Eastwood played in Dollar's trilogy. When Buffy asks about his costume, he explains that he is from the country of Leon. It's in Italy, actually Spain, pretending to be Montana, actually Texas or New Mexico. A further reference to spaghetti westerns directed by Italian filmmaker Sergio Leone. There is a black and white sticker labeled with the letters WP seen behind Xander when he says to Ampada, "Right you went away." The letters stand for the Southern Jam/rock band Widespread Panic. Also mentions the theme from A Summer's Place, a 1959 movie. This theme was later used in Buffy episode Him. So overall, I think this is a pretty okay episode, and yeah, poor Xander. Just kind of feel sorry for the guy, don't you? So, yeah. So overall, I give Inca Mummy Girl 3 vampire steaks out of 5. But anyway, tune in a bit as we take a look at the next episode, Reptile Boy. So, until then, here endeth the lesson.